Good evening. It is Saturday, February 23rd, 2013, and I'm just giving you a little update on the progress so far on resurrecting the battery pack from my little blunder yesterday. As you can see, the batteries are all still here. No fires, no massive destruction or anything. What I had done was heated up the garage to about 45 degrees. That was about as much as I could get it up to in here with a propane heater, and then went through and checked all the cells, and they had settled at about 2.5, an average of 2.5 for most of the pack, with the exception of the 7 up at the top that were the last 7 that were added, and they were somewhere about 1 volt down to 0.6, so they were definitely hurting. And what I had done is I took each of those 7 cells and brought them up to 2.5 volts using the Power Lab here, and it was kind of interesting because I set it to charge at 1 amp, figuring that if I trickled it in there gently it would be better than just kind of hitting it with the shock of the full 40 amps it's capable of. And what happened was that it actually charged at about a half an amp, about 500 milliamps, and it would error out with an error code. I believe it was 140, which I'll have to look up and find out what that means in the Power Lab world, but I think it's something like your cell voltage is just too low, because it's far below what it's supposed to be, so it thinks there must be a problem and just errors out. So basically I would have to go for about 2 minutes before it aired out. It would put energy into the cell and gradually bring the voltage up. So anyway, I would just rinse and repeat, reset the Power Lab, try again, 2 minutes, airs out, etc. But eventually I got the cells up to the 2.5 volts, and that seemed to work pretty well. And then I made sure everything was looking good, and I powered on my main charger. So that was, I put the Power Lab on here to monitor, and again, I don't think the little screen comes out on the camera, but it's been going for 490 minutes, which I believe is a bit over 8 hours, and it's currently showing 3.48 volts, roughly, on this particular cell. Now, this is the weak cell number 3 in the pack, so I figured that was a good one to monitor during the charge cycle. And yeah, so it's, you know, a little high, but not anywhere in the scary zone. And so at this point, it's a little dark in here now, but according to the JLD, we're at flirting with 208 volts for the whole pack, and the Manzanita is now dropped down a little bit. It's putting in 35.5 amps, down from the full 40. Now, one thing that I did do was when I first started charging, I ran the charger for the first, I'm thinking 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, at 10 amps. So I cranked it down to 10, just because I figured taking those batteries up from the ground zero, it would be better to, again, treat the rest of the pack as nicely as I could, and kind of trickle it in there at 10 amps instead of the full 40. So anyway, that seemed to work, and then when I got up to about 200 volts for the whole pack, then I flipped it on to full throttle, and it started putting 40 amps in. So anyway, that's the status as we are. Historically, it gets to about 210 volts. This is before I potentially damage the cells. And then the charger will throttle back to 0 and shut off. So anyway, that's kind of what's going on there. I've charged the little accessory battery independently, just with the standard battery charger, just so that it wouldn't be siphoning power with a DC to DC converter off the main pack during any of this balancing and so forth. So anyway, that is the status as of now. I think the car is pretty much back to back to where it was before. We'll have to do some range testing to see if I've actually lost anything appreciable or not. If I haven't lost any range, then these batteries are even more amazing than we thought, because they can take a licking and keep on ticking. As far as I can tell, this cell, the weak cell number 3, did not go into reversal. It got down really, really far, 0.6 volts, but I don't think it went to negative, so hopefully that means the damage is minimal? I don't know. So anyway, and let's just check the JLD meter again for the number of amps that it's put in so far in the last 8 hours. And so it looks like we're down to 22 amp hours remaining, 22.6, and again it had counted up to about 175 during the discharge, the unintentional discharge the other day, and so and according to this, it's about 35 to 32 kind of fluctuating amps coming in from the charger as it's kind of starting, it's ramping down as it gets close to that 210 mark. So anyway, that's it. That's where we're at right now, and until I actually take the car and drive it for 100 miles, I really won't know on my range, because there's really no other way to know. The batteries are theoretically rated at 180 amp hours to start with, but based on inaccuracy in the gauge and so forth, you just really don't know until you try it to see how far you get. So I'll probably be doing a range test. I don't know, I guess it depends on the weather. If it's nice tomorrow, I'll give it a try and see how far I get. And I guess we'll go from there. So anyway, just figured I'd give everyone an update as to the current status and a potentially averted catastrophe. So anyway, have a wonderful evening, and I'll catch up with y'all later.